Hi folks, how are you doing? The 2014 Bilbao Chess Masters final is already in the books. The last round's games were over maybe an hour or two ago, not too much. And it was an interesting round, at least speaking about the results. We had two decisive games, and both of them were very hard fought and were quite instructive and interesting. In the top matchup in the ratings, according to ratings and standings in the tournament, was the game between Levon Aronian with white pieces and Anand from India with black pieces. Now the Indian GM had already won the tournament with a round to spare, but still he had to face Levon Aronian, current world number 3 or 4, with black pieces, which is not always a pleasant task. Let's see what happened there. White goes 1d4, and once again, as it's really usually in this tournament, we see this c4 e6 inviting white to load the Nimzo Indian with knight c3. This has been played lots of times in this little tournament. Almost all players have played this as white and black, and some players have allowed the Nimzo with knight c3, and some of them, like Aronian, I think, have not, playing knight f3. In this occasion, the Armenian GM keeps playing knight f3, and once again, as he did against Ponomariov, if I'm not mistaken, Anand plays d5, transposing into the Queen's Gambit, declined, knight c3, and once again he chose the Ragozin defense, bishop b4. Really seems a trendy defense against the Queen's Gambit these days. Almost all the elite players playing this. Will this be an important sign for Magnus Carlsen to take a note on? Maybe it will. Bishop g5, h6, and this time Levon takes on f6, gives away the bishop pair for a smooth development. I mean, there are lots of possible lines, and this is certainly a natural continuation. Why not? e3, Anand castles, rook c1. This is all good theory, of course. Black takes on c4, doesn't wait for this bishop to develop and make him lose the tempo. And interestingly enough, these both players, Aronian with white and Anand with black, had tried this same line, this same move order 2 years ago in the same tournament in Bilbao in 2012. The game was a draw, if I'm not mistaken. And it continues c5. This is the theoretical move. White castles here. And after c takes d4, we see probably the idea of Aronian in this line. Not his original idea, but not the most common move here, to play knight e4, 11 knight e4, as he did here. Just to take a quick look at what is usually played here. White normally takes with the pawn on d4, assuming an isolated queen pawn. There are lots of games of GMs here, but in this occasion Levon chose the knight d4 move, somehow similar in my opinion to the Alekhine knight move in another position of the Queen's Gambit, the orthodox defense. You know that knight e4, which was widely played against Capablanca in their World Championship match in 1920 something, if I'm not mistaken. So that was the Alekhine maneuver to try to avoid the quick draws Capablanca was getting with black in the orthodox line of the Queen's Gambit, declined. But anyway, Queen e7, not much theory in this line. So interestingly enough, one of the players having played this with black pieces in this case was Paco Vallejo, playing in this tournament as well. And here after Queen e7, Aronian takes with the knight on d4, having a better development. I mean, the rook on c1, queen is active, 3 minor pieces in the center, centralized good pieces. And in exchange, black has the bishop pair, not a single clear weakness. And in general, it might be considered very slightly better for white, I think, because he has some lead in development, but nothing out of this world, I guess. Anand plays a very natural move, bishop to d7, to play knight c6 in good conditions, not to spoil his pawn structure, allowing a very ugly pawn on c6. And here an interesting move by Levon, queen h5. Developing a queen in a funny way. Now it's controlling the 5th rank, of course. And maybe one might imagine some speculative ideas with some attacking themes like bishop to d3 attacking this light square diagonal, then maybe knight to g5 someday if h4 is played before. So I don't know. Of course, there is a lot to go until something like that is possible or something. But it may be an idea for the future. I mean, playing something like h4, bishop d3, knight g5, or something similar to try to make some kingside attack out of this. Well, Anand reacts naturally. He keeps playing his pieces. He develops the knight to c6. Levon doesn't want to exchange pieces. He keeps the knight on b3. And here a very committing and concrete move by the Indian former world champion. The computer likes it, so we should try to understand. f5 it is what Anand plays. Okay, it's taking from white two very important squares, g4 and e4, kicking this very good knight of white, a centralized piece, and closing these diagonals. The bishop is not going to be able to attack on this diagonal anymore, for instance. But it's also letting black with a weak pawn on e6, although it's well defended so far. But okay, this is a move that probably most amateur players like me would be afraid of making. But it seems a correct move. The computer gives his approbation, so it's an interesting move. Aronian plays an intermediate move, a3, attacking the bishop on his own turn. So it was Anand here for choice, and he went for this simplification, taking on e4 rather than moving the bishop or trying any other thing like knight e5 is what was suggested by the engine. So takes on e4. It was a good piece on e4, so it doesn't look that bad to open the f file for the rook. A takes b4, of course. Anand takes a pawn temporarily, but now white has this knight c5, an octopus knight here attacking the bishop, 3 pawns. So Anand goes with the knight to d3, forcing the exchange of this good knight of white and giving back the pawn. Bishop takes, and as a result of some simplifications, white emerges somehow better. Black has his weak pawn, as I commented earlier, on e6. Okay, b2 could be considered as a weakness as well, but maybe white's somehow a little bit more active, so nothing out of the world, of course, but this should be a little bit better for white. Anand plays bishop to c6. Of course, this bishop is a good piece now, the big diagonal. And it's a pity for black that this bishop of white is controlling f5, both f5 and g6, because otherwise a rook to the g file through f6 or f5 would be very, very dangerous for white. So fortunately for Aronian, his bishop is doing a good job on this b1 h7 diagonal. He puts the rook on c4 with two ideas, I think. First, it stops always these queen b4 ideas, which black may have to attack b2 and activate his queen. And also, as we're going to see, is preparing to exchange this active bishop of c6 with bishop e4. So Anand plays rook f6, and there it goes, bishop to e4. Bishop takes, rook takes. White has some initiative. The rook is looking good on e4. Of course, as always, this e6 pawn is a weakness, but shouldn't be a great deal here for Anand, I think. He takes the open file with rook d2. Queen goes back to e2. Rook f5. h3. This is almost a zero risk position for white, so Aronian just keeps making safe moves. The queen back, h3, making a room for the king, no back rank issues. He will later see how he tries to put a pressure on black. Rook f to d5, nice control of the d file. But now that the rook moves from f-file, Aronian puts the queen back to the king side. Now he's attacking with rook and queen the e6 pawn. The rook from 8th rank comes to d6 to defend the pawn. Now finally Aronian develops his last piece, activates the rook on f8. He goes to rook c1, taking the open file. King h7, and here we see once again a position which should be holdable for black. I mean, no big problems. He only has one clear weakness on e6. But now we're going to see that Levon Aronian is going to use wisely Anand's king to create a second weakness. In fact, to create a weakness which is going to be crucial in this game. The king is going to be a factor here, so he's going to take advantage of it. Now rook a4, very wise move, not only attacking the pawn on a7, but also leaving the e4 square for the queen to come to e4 with a check. And as I said, creating kind of a second weakness, making this king a weakness, an unsafe piece, and using that to improve his pieces. a6, what else to not to lose the pawn. And now queen e4 check, king back to g8. Seeing this, one might ask himself if after rook c1, king h7 was that necessary. Maybe it was, because rook c8, and if rook d8, e6 was hanging. But anyway, I mean, having the 8th rank somehow under attack, we're going to see, is going to make a difference here. King back to g8, and now rook c8 check is possible. Rook d8. Black's slightly unsafe king now has helped Levon to activate his pieces. And after rook a4, we see his pieces have improved, controlling the c-file. The queen is centralized, very well placed. Rook 5 to d7. g3, once again, now he has improved his pieces, and Aronian plays more safe moves to improve his king, to cut any kind of source of counterplay from black. King to f7. Queen f3 check, king goes to g8, back to e4. Of course, Anand would be happy to take a draw here. He repeats moves. But now queen g4. Rooks are exchanged here. And Anand tries a queen exchange. Queen g5, of course, that would mean almost an automatic draw here. But Aronian goes to b4. Very nice move. Underlining this the weakness of black's king, which is by now the key factor in this game, not the e6 pawn anymore. Now this king is the factor which is going to move the game. This is the advantage of white. King to g6, h4. Here my engine it may be missing something, but gives this line which is giving, in the comp's opinion, a complete equality to black with counter-attack. Rook d1 check, king h2, now queen to d5 with deadly attacks on h1, checkmating ideas. And white could try to stop it with queen to g4 check, king h7, and moving the pawn forward to e4, but say queen to d2, attacking f2, attacking b2. And I don't know, both kings seem unsafe, and my engine might be wrong, but this seems rather not that bad position for black, although a little bit messy one. But after h4, Anand played not this rook d1 check idea, but queen f5, maybe trying to make it play the same plan with a better condition. Now that he controls f3, he wants to play the check and then go for the checkmate right away. But maybe he missed this strong rook f8 idea by white. Geometry helping white to control the f-file and not allowing this queen of black to control this f3. Queen d5 is still controlling the light square diagonal here, and still, while black has some threats to get counter chances. Now queen g4 check, king h7, and white is on time to get away from the back rank, get away from attack. King to h2. Anand tries to kick this queen away, h5, queen f4, and queen c6. It seems it's a mistake, but at this point it's already difficult for me to assess which was the correct move. Well, it was not that difficult for Aronian to find the correct move here. He played queen b8, and it seems this king is really in lots of trouble here right now. Of course, rook h8 would be the first move, forcing this king kind of to go to the center. In heavy time trouble, I must say. I was watching this live. Anand played rook d1, once again with the same idea of checkmate. But Aronian here replied with the nice e4, pawn to e4, cutting the communication here. And the first thing chess player must wonder in this position is why black cannot take on e4. Little piece of calculation here, not that difficult to find, I guess. Rook h8 check, king g6, queen to e8 check would follow, forcing king to f6. After rook f8 check, black is not going back to the g file, so rook e5, king e5 is forced, and now double attack, a fork with the queen, taking on h5 and attacking both the king and the rook, obviously winning the game, winning the rook. So taking the e4 pawn was not possible. Instead, Anand goes rook c1, but now rook h8 check, king g6, queen f4. This king is in huge trouble. I mean, this king is in danger of being checkmated in a couple of moves. Just as an example, if black plays something like rook c2, a move like g4, threatening to take with the pawn, checkmating black, and if black takes with the pawn, we don't care. The other move, the h pawn goes forward. This is checkmate. So just to show how badly this king is placed right now on the board, both the queen on the f file and the rook on the h file are really making this king's life right now really a nightmare. It's neither of these pieces, which is the worst, which is what it makes it worse. Neither of black pieces is able to hurry back on the defense. Well, that's what Anand tries. In any case, he plays rook to c5 to control the fifth rank, to not allow checkmate, but simple move e5 here. The rook is not controlling the fifth rank anymore, and black is in has no time to go back and threaten checkmate anything, because white is going there first with checkmating ideas. So Anand resigned here after 46 moves. An instructive game, I think. So great last round victory for Levon Aronian. Didn't win the tournament, but still beat the tournament winner, the former world champion Anand, and the current contender for the world throne. Thanks for watching.